Hello YouTube, Dave here again, back with another just sort of a mini pickups video, I guess. I like doing these videos. It's nice to just sort of catalog when I added certain things to my various collections. So I just think we'll just dive right into it. So these are the things that I've picked up as of mid-February from the January pickups video, the last time I did one of those. The first thing I want to start with is something that I've actually already done a video on, so if you want to see the video on that, you can certainly do that, and that is the Tactical Maps Reincarnated. So this came out, actually doesn't officially fully launch until February the 19th. However, local game stores and stuff were able to sell it early, so I picked up a copy of it there, and I do a video showing off all the different maps, and someone did provide me a list of all of the maps that were included, and there's actually a surprising number of ones from sets that I actually have that I just haven't looked at in years. So, for example, there are maps from the Colossal Red Dragon, the Gargantuan Blue Dragon, and the list said that there was also one from the Legend of the Drizzt box set that came out with the Gargantuan White Dragon. And obviously quite a few others as well. So really, really cool product. Absolutely love it. And I did a video again showing off all the different maps there, so if you want to see this in more detail, I will include something at the end that you can just click on. I'll take you right to that one. Although odds are you've probably, if you're watching my channel, you've probably already seen it already, but just in case, I will provide something that you can click on at the end there. Alright, and so we'll just sort of shift away from D&D for a moment, and actually no, let's sort of stick with that. This isn't like a role-playing book or anything like that, but I did get issue 4 of Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons, so I now have the complete set of these books, or of these comics, and it's pretty cool overall. I do love, have like the Beholder there in that one, and then this is a take on the Dungeon Master's Guide, I believe, for first edition AD&D when they did like the reprints. And anyway, really, really cool series. The 4th issue, we do see some references to older products once again. I'm not going to spoil the story or anything, but it is cool to see stuff like that. And of course, we have some artwork here as well. And then we have the character for Rick when he becomes the thing that he hates the most in D&D. But it is, again, pretty cool overall to have this sort of story arc. They do bring back the Dungeon Master character, and it's interesting they have the Dungeon Master character turn back into Satine Phoenix, but not into Chris Perkins again. Which is weird and not a great choice in my opinion. I'm just again, it's personal taste, but I'm not that big a fan of Satine's DMing style, and I would rather have seen them bring back the Chris Perkins cameo, or even just go in other directions altogether. Just keep it looking like Dungeon Master from the animated series would have been fine as well. But still a really, really cool series. There is a trade coming out for this at some point. And I might pick up the trade just to have it all collected into one, and I might end up giving these to a friend of mine who's a big Rick and Morty fan, but we'll see how that goes. Alright, so up next we got a couple of video game things, related things. The first thing I'll show off has a little bit of an explanation behind it. Because I know that if anyone watching this is sort of into like the retro gaming stuff, they will probably be familiar with this product, with this company, and will seriously question my sanity. But I did pick up one of the Atari Flashback Blasts from At Games. This is the one listed like the HDMI dongle that you plug in to the HDMI port, and it has like this sort of like Sega Genesis type controller, and it's pre-installed with basically 20 Atari games, and from like the Atari 2600 and that sort of era. Now, why did I buy this? I know that At Games has a very, very terrible reputation, and it's not entirely unearned. I mean, they definitely deserve pretty much all the criticism that they get. But the reason that I picked this up was purely because of the price. I follow a couple of video game related Facebook groups, and in my area at least, in like the Halifax, Nova Scotia region. And someone was selling one of these for like $20, and one of the comments underneath of it was just someone, you know, with like the saying, you know, good luck with this, because right now there's a place in Dartmouth that's selling these for like $5-6. And that's why I picked this up, because I only paid $6 plus tax for this. So Bed Bath & Beyond in Dartmouth Crossing has a bunch of these that they've been selling. They have like volumes. They have two other ones as well that we didn't pick up. I just picked this one up for now because my fiance, she really loves Asteroids, and she had a great time playing it. She liked Asteroids and she liked Missile Command. She wasn't too keen on most of the other games, but again, a lot of these games you sort of have to know what you're doing. So like just picking up Adventure, for example, and diving right into it is not really going to work, since you need to sort of understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish in that game. I think I would enjoy Adventure and Adventure 2, but it's still one of those things where, you know, and like the soccer game, for example, is a 2-player game, and I don't know if you can actually hook up a second controller to the system or not, because if you can, then that's fine, since we can get another one of these things for like $6 and get a whole other controller. But if you can't, then it's a really stupid inclusion to have a 2-player game when you don't have the ability to do 2 players. But anyway, I digress. It's already actually currently hooked into my TV, so I just have the box out here. But for $6, we've already gotten $6 worth of entertainment out of it. And, you know, my fiance, she's into, you know, computer programming, stuff like that. So once she gets paid, she's actually considering going out and picking up another one of these, just so she can basically take it apart and mess with it. And again, for $6, you know, why not? So that's why we picked that up. And if it were any more than that, I probably wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Like here in Canada, the regular retail price is $29.99, and I can tell you there's no way in hell I would pay $30 for one of these, but $6, absolutely. And I may even go out and get the other 2 ones that they had at the store if they still have any left, just because again, for that price, it's worth it for that. I mean, the packaging looks nice. At the very least, you have a nice looking box, and if you get even a couple hours of entertainment out of it, it's worth the money. So that's why I picked that up. So moving from a questionable decision to one that makes 100% sense, I also picked up the big box version of Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch. So the reason that I did that is back around Christmas time, I saw this version of the game in stores along with the big box versions of Splatoon 2 and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I'm a sucker for video game boxes. It's almost a pet peeve when I see someone looking at stuff like, you know, PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, any of the more modern systems, and saying, oh, this is complete in box. And it's like, well, it's a plastic case. It's not quite the same thing as being complete in box. With disk systems, you're more likely to have the case anyway, or you should be more likely to have the case because that's how you protect them. But anyway, that's just a personal thing. Definitely not, you know, something that anyone has to agree with me on. It's just, again, one of those personal quirks, I guess. But anyway, so I love video game boxes, and this was the one that I didn't have of the 3 that I saw that were available. So the reason I actually ended up pulling the trigger on this is, even though I wasn't necessarily thinking of getting it right away, I went into a local Walmart. Actually, it was one in Dartmouth Crossing as well, here in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and they had restocked Breath of the Wild and Splatoon 2, but unlike leading up to the holidays where they had the box versions, their restocks were just the plastic cases. And that made me a little bit nervous because I only had 2 copies of this left. So even though I was looking for another game altogether, the fact of the matter was I felt like if I didn't buy the big box version of Mario Odyssey then and there, then I may not get that opportunity again. And who knows, they may be restocking the boxes anyway, but it's just where they had the other 2 versions that had the boxes, and now their restocks were just back to the plastic cases. I wanted to have this as well. And similar to the other 2, I've taken all the items out of the box because I don't want to keep opening and closing the box, because the flaps can be kind of difficult to work with after a while. So I just have this sitting on my shelf, and I've got Super Mario Odyssey, the game itself. which is really cool. It includes the lyrics to the song that gets sung during the celebration, the festival in New Donk City. That's done by Pauline. And this game is just awesome. I was actually watching, not too long ago, a review of Super Mario 64. And this may spiral off into a whole other series of videos, but it's always interesting to sit back and watch people that are way younger than me review games from an era that they weren't really around for, and to hear some of their criticisms. Like, for example, they had someone who wanted to just be able to keep collecting stars without getting ejected every single time that you do it. When you collect a star in a level in Super Mario 64, you go back to outside of the painting that you have to jump back into to keep going. But there's reasons for that, and I don't think the reviewer quite understood it. Well, number one may have been like a technical issue, but the biggest thing is that you don't have to get all the stars in a world to go through the game. So why keep you or force you to stay into a level or have to menu your way out when it just makes sense that if you only need one more star to progress to another area, then, you know, just let you go in, get the star, get booted out, and anyway. But Super Mario Odyssey does what this person wants, and I can't help but feel like there's someone who just weren't around for the N64 era. They did sound pretty young in the video, and are trying to compare Super Mario 64 to Super Mario Odyssey. In Super Mario Odyssey, you can just keep collecting moons until you decide to leave that world, and it's designed that way, and it's an awesome game. It's really fun and addicting. And I really want to go back and continue to play it time and time again. Interesting note about these box versions is they have the not for resale tag on them. I don't think that makes the game cases any more valuable, and I'm not really worried about value. I just love boxed video games. So, but we got that, and we have the Traveler's Guide, which is actually a pretty thick book. However, it also has the French and Spanish language versions in here as well, so that's sort of why that is. And I said this before, but one of the things that with this, I mean, this Traveler's Guide and a lot of like the guides that came with Splatoon 2 or even the Breath of the Wild, they really feel like just old school instruction manuals. And I hate the fact that you have to get like a variant version or a special, you know, edition version of a game to get basically a physical instruction manual, and that's what these are. Now, I love these box sets again for the Switch games, and there's a couple of games that I haven't picked up yet that hopefully they may do the same thing for, like if they do a box version of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I would love that, or Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze Deluxe. Anyway, really cool pickup though. I love these, and Super Mario Odyssey is just an amazingly fun game, so yeah, really happy to have that. Alright, last thing is a package that I just received in the mail this morning from Paizo. So I'm still in touch with their public relations person for, you know, products to do reviews for and videos for. So we'll go ahead and actually open this up right here now. And just in case there's a packing slip, I'm just going to do this off camera. And indeed there was. So what they sent me was part 3, the final part of the Signal of Screams adventure path. This is Heart of Night. So this concludes that particular series, and they're going to actually be moving on to a brand new adventure path. But with this, I now have the first 3 adventure paths fully completed, which will allow me to do a video series on them. So starting, if not next week, the week after, I'm actually going to go through and do spoiler light, although there's going to have to be some spoilers when you're talking about an entire story arc sort of thing. But I do want to make videos about each of the adventure paths and sort of compare them to one another to see basically, you know, which one might be the best for your group when you're starting out. So it's really cool to have this in my possession, because now I have all 3 of the current adventure paths, as of the time that I'm recording this, fully completed. So anyway, that was just, again, just sort of a quick video, just to show some things that I've picked up, and sort of, again, to explain why I've spent, or why I picked up at least one of the things that I did, because, yeah, it would be questionable if it weren't for the fact that it was such a ridiculously discounted price. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Take care. Hey everyone, it's been actually about a week since I last, since I recorded the first part of the video that you just watched. But I wanted to hold off on actually releasing it because, well, there are a couple of different reasons. The first is the fact that I wanted to there's a couple more things that I had picked up or were expecting to get in the mail within, the next few days after I recorded that video, or the first part of the video. And unfortunately, part of it took a bit longer than I was expecting. But the first thing that I want to talk about here today is the fact that I picked up, for the Nintendo Switch, actually, a download version of Final Fantasy IX. For, like I said, this is on the Nintendo Switch. It was also released for the Xbox One, I believe, as well as on PC, but I would imagine probably through Steam. And I was really looking forward to getting this. A little bit of a brief history with the Final Fantasy series. I actually never played a Final Fantasy game until probably about 2011 or 2012. When I first got my Nintendo Wii. Among the first few games that I downloaded was Final Fantasy II and Final Fantasy III, and those are the SNES versions. So as far as the entire series goes, it was actually 4 and 6. And I also have the original Final Fantasy on the NES Classic Edition, which is really cool. But I've never played any of the 3D era Final Fantasy games. So I was really looking forward to this, and honestly, I feel like Final Fantasy VII is a little bit overhyped, and I feel like Final Fantasy IX just seems to fly under the radar. Like, I hear people talk about the best Final Fantasy games of all time, and the 2 big ones that always get talked about are 6 and 7, and I really love this game. Like, I picked it up, I'm probably about 12 hours in to it, and I want to say I'm probably about halfway through the main story at this point. But the thing that I really like about this version is it goes back to the more fantasy-based world that the early Final Fantasy games on the NES and the Super Nintendo would have had. Starting with Final Fantasy 3/6, they started going for a more technological type of world, and 7 and 8 were basically like sort of futuristic kind of thing, and I just didn't care for it. I didn't like that aesthetic. I didn't like that look. I didn't like anything about those versions, unfortunately. Just none of it appealed to me. Now, the games may be good, but they just didn't appeal to me. But Final Fantasy IX was basically like a love letter to the early NES and Super Nintendo era Final Fantasy games, and it's, like I said, it's really cool so far. I'm enjoying the story. The only real downside that I would say about it is that there are situations where you just really have to grind several levels before you're ready to take on a particular boss, and it's kind of unfortunate because I guess I'm spoiled by some other games that I played, other RPGs, where basically going through the encounters that you get along the way through progressing the story tends to give you the levels that you need. Even Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo really sort of did that too, that as long as you weren't running away from everything and you fought the fights that you came across, you would be ready to take on the bosses. And I found that there's one area in particular where I was getting one hit KO'd against all of my characters, and it was kind of frustrating. So I had to grind quite a bit there, and I just went through this one big section where I don't know if there were any, but if there were any shops, I couldn't find them. So there was this great big long segment where we go through 3 pretty major lengthed events, and just weren't able to get any potions or anything, so it got pretty hairy by the end, but still a really wonderful game. If you have a Nintendo Switch or an Xbox One, or I'm pretty sure it's Steam, it's set for PC anyway, then this would be a great game to pick up. So I just wanted to throw that into the pickups video as well, because I think that this is, again, just an awesome game. So we have that, but there is one more thing that I want to show, so I'll be right back once I get everything set up for that. Alright, so here is the last item. So this just arrived in the mail today, which is February 20th, I think. Might be the 21st now, just based on the time that I'm recording this. But anyway, so this is something that, if what's in this box is what I think it is, I cut it open, but I haven't looked in yet. If this is what I think it is, what I'm hoping it is, this was an item that I ordered, or a couple of items that I ordered off of DM's Guild. So there's a few more really awesome things to check out on there, including something that I plan to get at the beginning of March that I definitely plan on putting an order through for, which is the Ghost of Dragonspear Castle, I think is the name of it. It's the D&D Next playtest adventure that is actually the first, the predecessor, or the precursor adventure to Dead and Thay. So that's something that I really want to get my hands on, because I have Dead and Thay through Tales of the Yawning Portal, and if I can get that, then I have pretty much all the D&D Next playtest adventures, which is really cool. But that's not what's in here. Those items became available about 2 weeks after I ordered this. So it's taken about 3 weeks or so, just a little under 4 weeks to arrive. So let's just go ahead. I'm just going to slide this off in case the invoice is facing out. And it wasn't, but that's okay. So what we have here is some pretty heavy-duty bubble wrap, which I'll save for the missus, because she loves this stuff. But what's in here are it's 2 parts of a 3-part series of adventures, and hopefully the 3rd part will be available print on demand soon. But these are for 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, and they were part of the Monstrous Arcana series. So I'll just tilt down a little bit here. So what we have is Eye of Pain, and then Eye of Doom, and I can't remember what the 3rd title is. I don't know if it says, yeah. And the 3rd adventure is called Eye to Eye, which they don't have available print on demand yet, although it is available for a PDF download, so we'll sort of see how that goes. But this is a 3-part adventure arc involving beholders as sort of like the main villains. And what's really cool about it is that you can play all 3 adventures connected if you want, or each of these is sort of meant to be pretty much a standalone. But what I really like here, so you got the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, Monstrous Arcana, and then you have the Beholder in there, which is really cool. And just interesting choice for the artwork on the Beholder as well. Pretty unique, actually. I don't think I've ever seen another one sort of like this. Like, it almost looks like one of those eye stalks is just a cluster. It's probably not, but it's just the way that it looks. It almost looks like it's a cluster of 3 eyes. But really cool looking. So these were, like I said, adventures. And I do plan on doing a review of these at some point. So you have a death kiss there, which is pretty cool. And we'll just sort of flip through a little bit. So again, some pretty decent art in here. And again, I just love beholders. So for me, you know, the second one that I'm going to pick up here in a second, Eye of Doom, had been available for a while. But I didn't really like the fact that it was, you know, part 2 of a 3-part arc. At least this way, if I have the first 2, then I can, you know, hope to get the 3rd. I would have to imagine that they would print the 3rd one here as well. Just got some maps in the back, which are full color. I don't know if these would have been initially like fold-out maps or if these were just in the book like that, but still pretty cool to have. And yeah, I mean, anything involving beholders I'm down for. And I like the beholder art as well on the pages. And that's a pretty awesome picture. It almost looks like a beholder mage, just where that eye looks like it's blinded. Oh, it's an undead. Okay, undead death tyrant, undead beholder, and Zaxanar. I don't know why, but it just seems that these beholders always love their name starting with X. Anyway, so again, looking forward to going through and reading this. And then of course we have the Eye of Doom, which has more of this sort of style of beholder on the cover, which is pretty neat. And I didn't check to see what the level, but I think these were higher level adventures too, considering that they are beholders. Actually, levels 4 to 8. And this was something that I actually kind of liked about some of the old modules. So it's for a group of characters of levels 4 to 8, but basically in order to make sure that you're sort of balanced based off the encounters, it says that, you know, the total sum of all the players' level, the characters' levels in the group should equal about 35. So that's sort of a good measuring stick, I guess, to know if you're going to be able to face the encounters with relatively decent chance of surviving. So that was 4 to 8, and this is 6 to 10 with 40 levels. And again, just some really cool artwork in here. That's all I'm sort of looking at right now. But I'm really looking forward to... Whoa. Okay, I don't know what that is, but that's pretty awesome. Let's see if I can find the stats on that. And this looks like you're going up against a beholder cult, the unblinking eye. And that's actually something I really wanted to do with a 2nd edition adventure campaign, was have it, you know, going up against a beholder cult, and I just never got a chance to do it. But so there's a beholder mage. So hopefully we'll have the artwork. Doesn't look like there's artwork for that, but that's okay. And then we just have, again, some maps. Whoops. So there we go. The spines don't have anything printed on them. I could only assume that they probably would have been like the old school modules for AD&D 1st and 2nd edition, actually. Usually just had this as like a cover. And in fact, those maps were probably the inside covers, now that I think about it. And then you had the booklet that was separate. You could just, you know, it wasn't attached to the cover itself. And that was all black and white. So that's the way that this looks here. But again, just really, really cool. We got the TSR, and 1996 is when these came out. And so the Monstrous Arcana series, as far as I know, the only 2 creatures they showcased, I could be wrong, I know they did beholders for sure because I've got them here, but there was also some adventures involving mind flayers. And I would really love to get those as well. Because what was really cool about the mind flayers is, if I recall correctly, they were essentially a group, like a species of creature that came from the future. And they're trying to sort of set up events to ensure that, you know, the history unfolds the way that it's supposed to. And their big thing was that they were trying to essentially like block out the sun. They wanted to destroy the sun or something like that. And then that was sort of like the time period that they were from, was after that had succeeded. So again, I can't remember exactly if they were traveling back in time or not, but I do know that like destroying the sun or blocking out the sun was like their main goal. And I love mind flayers too, so those would be something that would be pretty cool to get as well. So anyway, so those are my recent pickups, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry that there was such a delay, but I was really expecting to get this about a week sooner than I did, and then by the time I was going to put the video up, just, you know, some things happened, and, you know, people at home got sick, and I don't want to get into it too much. But anyway, I just want to thank you once again, everyone, for all your support and for watching, you know, these poorly produced videos. Yeah, just thank you guys very much. I really appreciate everything, and I will see you next time. Take care.